Here's a question for you. How do you feel about your body? When you look at yourself in the mirror, are you happy with what you see? Are you positive? Are you neutral? Or are you negative? Today's conversation is for those people who are a little negative on themselves, a little bit too critical about their bodies. And here's the thing, when you don't feel good in your own skin, that influences not just your professional life, but your personal life. It influences how you show up for yourself and the other people in your life. Maybe you're somebody who got some bad messaging from mom and dad or grandparents or friends, or you just open up your social media and you constantly compare yourself to other people. Today we're going to talk about the power of self-acceptance. Today we're going to talk about how body image directly influences professional success and the role that external influence can play in our self-perception. And we're going to do it all with Karianne Munstedt. I met her on our Move the Needle podcast and was just absolutely blown away by how she helps women, mostly, and men, really see themselves as the person they are. She does this with not only professional headshots, but the sexy ones too, those boudoir shots. By the end of today's podcast, I hope that you find some acceptance in your body. And you can rest assured, Carrie's got plenty of strategies to help you get there. So, let's all strip down and get real with Carrie and my conversation today on Learn from People Who Lived It.
Find Learn from People Who Lived It wherever you get podcasts. Search it using all one word. Learn from People Who Lived It.
Welcome to another episode of Learn from People Who Lived It.
I'm sitting down today on the couch in one of the most creative spaces I've been in a long time, which probably is going to lend itself to this conversation today. It feels like it's going to be, able to flow because of the space that we're in. Carrie, you and I met each other on the Move the Needle podcast that we did with you, me, Steve Petz, and we had such a great conversation. And while I was sitting on the couch with you, there was this really kind of cool, profound moment for me where I was maybe not for the first time, but for the first time in a while, was looking at my own body and my own image of my body. And then you and I started having this great conversation about, is the story even yours? And so that's what we're going to dive into a little bit today. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being in this, for inviting me into your space too. How long have you been here?
I have been here for 4.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens in this space? Because that's going to get us down the road of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. So I overall am a portrait photographer. I typically specialize in photographing women business owners for their businesses, for headshots, those types of things. But I also specialize, and not just women, men too, but mostly women. I also specialize in body image photos. So if you think boudoir, that kind of stuff, just so many women and men too, honestly, have very negative views of their bodies. And so if I can invite them in for a portrait session to help them, whatever kind of portrait session it is, to help them see their bodies in a different way, then my job is done.
Yeah. So do you remember the first time you took a picture of somebody naked?
The first time I took a picture of somebody naked, no, I don't remember who that was, actually.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, because, it's not the norm. It's not what every photographer does. But so what made you want to do that? What made you go, you know what, I'm the person who could help people by doing this?
Yeah. So it was from my own photography experience that I had I started building this business, 10, 12 years ago, something. Okay. And I looked around and I didn't have any pictures of myself because I was a very curvy girl at that point. And for the previous 10 years that I had gained weight, I didn't exist in photos. Or if I did, I was hiding behind someone, or I was covered up in a baseball hat or big bulky clothes or something like that. So I didn't have anything that I could use for my website and social media. Okay. So I booked a photo session with a photographer in LA because I had heard that she photographed women and was very inviting to women and stuff like that. So I went to that photo session and I was a ball of nerves, right? And so these voices were in my own head telling me I was too fat to be photographed, telling me, my clothes weren't good enough. Like, who was I? Like, why was I doing this? Who do you think you are, Carrie, right, for doing this? And I was able to take a deep breath and tune those voices out the best that I could and step into that photo session. And we had the best time because she made me feel so good in that photo session. I wasn't even thinking about my body at all during it, right? And when I got those pictures back, and this wasn't a boudoir session, this was just a regular, like headshot type of session. But when I got those photos back, I didn't look at my body at all. Like I saw my soul. I know that seems kind of silly, whatever, but it's true. I saw not only who I was, but who I was becoming. And that photo session changed my life forever. And it was then, I had been doing some other types of photography, but it was then that I knew that I wanted to refocus and help women, especially with their own body image, because of the way that particular photo shoot had helped me.
So cool. And you and I were just talking about before we got started, the way we feel about ourselves, it has everything to do with the way that we show up for ourselves, for the people around us. It has everything to do with the decisions we make about what we're going to do, what we're going to eat, who we're going to see, what we're going to engage in.
And not only our personal lives, but our business lives as well.
Sure.
I mean, it fully impacts us whether we're business owners or we are in the corporate world. I mean, I don't even think that people understand how much it impacts them in those areas as well.
Yeah. I've had a couple of conversations in this space before. And as I told you when we recorded Move the Needle, sometimes my questions are a little messy, but that's only so that I can understand things before. And I remember interviewing a woman and she said, I didn't look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
And so when you hear that, what does it make you think about?
I mean, it makes me so sad,
right?
It makes me so sad. And it goes back to the story, though, to the question that you asked at the beginning of this, right? Whose story is that? Such a simple question, but such a profound question. It's simple, but it's not easy because she has been told some kind of story at some point in her life, most likely by a parent, maybe, that she is not beautiful, that she is not worthy of looking at herself in the mirror. She's not worthy somewhere around her body. And she has taken that on as her own personal story. And then she has gone through, I don't know how old she was, but she's probably in her 30s, 40s, 50s, something like that, right? So she's gone through 30, 40, 50 years of her life not looking at herself in the mirror. And that's so sad to me because it doesn't have to be that way. And it started probably with a story that wasn't even her own. It was somebody else learned that from somebody else, from society in general, because we're fed all sorts of, lies about how we're supposed to look and be, to sell products, really. And so she took that story on as her own, she hasn't had the awareness or the ability to question that story and see if it's actually what she believes.
So you said something there that made me want to articulate this point.
Yeah.
One of my friends is Dr. Morgan Francis, and she's an incredible psychologist, 20 plus years experience. She's in this body space herself. And she was on a podcast that I was taping just last week and blew my mind with the statistic that 90% of the body shaming that women experience comes from their parents or their grandparents.
Yeah.
So it's not even outside influence. It's not. Don't blame Instagram.
No, I mean that Instagram has a spot, though. I mean, it does.
For sure.
It does, and the messages that we receive in movies and media,
100%.
magazines, it does play a spot. But the biggest impact is definitely our parents.
And you think about why that's the case. It's because those are the people that we are supposed to be able to trust the most.
100%.
Right.
I have a really great story along those lines. And I told you the story last time we were together, but I think it's such an important story to share. I had a client who was here and we did her headshot session. And at the end of it, we sat down to look at her pictures together. And she kept picking out pictures where she was like not smiling or just a medium smile. And she wasn't picking any pictures where she had a nice big full smile. And when I see those patterns in my clients, I challenge them a little bit, whether it's that they don't like non-smiles or they don't like big smiles. I challenge them a little bit and ask them why. And if it's non-smile, they usually say, well, I think I look mad. I think I look like a bitch, because women have been told that if they're not smiling, then they're probably upset about something. Well, so this was the opposite way. She wasn't picking out big smiles of herself. And she said, because I was told as a child that I didn't have a nice smile. And so she had learned that from her mom, right? And then she had carried that story, which was not even her own story, which maybe her her mom's mom had told her mom that, you know what I mean? Who knows where it all started? But because her mom said that to her, she carried the story throughout. She's in her 50s now too. She's gone through her entire life without showing like a big smile to people. And I was able to say, oh, you have such a beautiful smile, and help her see things a little bit differently. And now she's showing up in the world differently. I mean, she's interacting a lot with a lot more of the stuff that I'm doing too, because, you know, I think that was a very life-changing moment for her right there, just to be told that she actually does have a really beautiful smile. So, right, it's those stories that we're told from our parents that really impact us the most. I mean, I have so many stories around that from my own parents, right, that I'm 48 now. I'm still dealing with to today.
Crap,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, when I'm out there and I'm speaking, I talk in corporate America about dysfunction and breaking the cycle of dysfunction. And one of the things that I say to people that really kind of stops them in their tracks is, if we were to watch you with no sound, what would we see? And it really forces us to think about, what do I look like day to day?
Yeah.
And you think about the impact of a smile and how much that could completely change the interaction fully.
For everyone in someone's life.
Yeah. Right? Like if you're in customer service, what's the value of that smile?
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah. If you're in sales, what's the value of that smile?
Going to a networking event. Right. I mean, whatever it is, even just to your own kids.
That's what I mean.
Even just to your own kids.
This is why I love what you're talking about and the message that you're putting out into the world so much. Is because when we don't feel good about ourselves, we show up differently for everybody.
100%.
And it's not our boss's job to fix that.
No.
It's not our friend's job to fix that. It's not our spouse's job to fix that. It's like our job to fix it.
It's our job, and it's a hard job.
Yeah.
We tend to do things that are the easier route.
Oh, yes.
Because it's easier.
Well, and you said it earlier, it kind of starts with awareness. And to me, this is where the photos come in. Because if, I'll just take myself for an example. Yeah. If I were to come in here and I were to do a photo shoot and I would get these incredible photos back, I would look at that person and I would go, okay, I guess that's me.
Yes, because our heads, so many of the stories in our heads, right, are not our own stories. Right. They're just lies to us, right? So we see ourselves in a certain way, but in a photograph, you can't listen to those lies anymore, because this is the honest to God truth of what you actually look like, right? Shown back to you. And it's not because we've done magical retouching on it, right? We haven't done all these manipulations on it to make you look a certain way. Like, this is literally how you look. And so we're able to use those photographs as a way to change the stories in our head. It's such a big thing, because everyone thinks that I have to do the thing before I come and have photographs done, right? I have to lose the weight. I have to lighten the color of my teeth. I have to change the color of my hair. I have to be more successful in my business. All these things before they come and have the photographs. And I cannot tell you how much I believe in the fact that it is the other way around. You come in and you have the photographs done, and you see that your body is not as big as you thought it was, or that you actually look better than you thought you did, or I am the successful person that I see in my photograph, right? It helps you see that you are that person already. It's such an impactful way to change the way that you see yourselves. And I wish that more people would look at it that way rather than the other way.
I printed this off because I wanted to read it. When you go to your website, you see be you, see you, embrace your full self and exist in photos. Okay, but then it goes on to read, when a woman sees her real beautiful self staring back at her in her portraits, a mindset shift takes place. She feels a newfound confidence and a sense of true beauty living within her, knowing that she is enough just as she is.
100%.
So let's unpack that just a little bit. When a woman sees her real beautiful self staring back at her in her portraits, a mindset shift takes place. Let's talk about what that mindset shift is, in your opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the exact experience that I had, right? So when I went into my photo shoot that I told you about a little bit about earlier, and I let down all these needs to be perfect, anything, and I just showed up as my real self in that, my real silly, positive, optimistic, all the things that make me self. Like, it felt so good to go into that photo session as the real me, as not needing to be a different version of me that I think that I should be. And then I was able to see that reflected back in those pictures, see that I had let down those guards and I had just shown up as myself. And my mind completely shifted because I didn't look at my fat. Like, I looked at this amazing person that I was and the person that I was becoming and the business owner that I wanted to become. And that was the start of the journey that I have been on ever since, right? And every year, every time I have another photo shoot and I see more and more of my real true self in those photos, I step into like the next version of me that I love even more. So I hope that's a good explanation of it. But that's just the way that I see that mind shift. It's really a positive mindset because we always, we can dig so much deeper and see a different level of ourselves, and it just changes how we show up in the world.
Okay, so I have a term that I use called the transitional character.
Yeah.
I learned that I was a transitional character about a few years ago.
Okay.
And the importance of that is, again, going back to what we're talking about, when you see your real value and you see who you are as a person, or you have this energy, that transitional character energy, that maybe you're the one here to end dysfunction, to make life better for the people around you, whatever, all that. Man, you start to take care of yourself differently.
Yes.
And you start to make different choices for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you put up some boundaries because you have the confidence to do that now.
For sure.
Maybe you initiate a self-care strategy and you start taking better care of yourself because you see yourself differently.
Yeah.
Are these things that you experience with women you work with and men you work with?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think that when you are able to see yourself differently and see that those things have been lies in your head, you start questioning other things too. Like, what are the other stories? What are the other lies that I've had in my head, right? And it's like, okay, maybe I don't have to be doing life this way. Like the client that I told you about earlier, who I told you about that she didn't smile, right? So I lead something in my studio every month now called Body Acceptance Circles, where it's just a time for women to come together and to be able to share and release all the shame and stories and crap that they have about their bodies. And she is engaging in that now, right? She's doing a lot more now because she was able to just have that one little shift from those photographs, right? So now she's showing up differently in the world. She's questioning more of those lies that she had heard before, and she is showing up in different ways that she hadn't before so that she can accept her body more and live a better life than she had been living, right? A freer life in her brain. And then that's going to be better for her husband. That's going to be better for her children. She has a new grandbaby. That's going to be better for that grandbaby as well, right? This is also, like you said, a transitional character. I really like that term. I feel like I am that person for people sometimes because she is now going to break these generational cycles that she heard it from her mom, then she's carried it. Who knows if she is in this time passed things down to her children, but we're going to stop that for that grandbaby of hers, right?
Right. Yeah, it's that expression, that problem ran in my family until it ran into me.
Exactly.
I love that expression so much.
Exactly.
You talk about the strategies for building a positive body image, and I know you're out and when you're not snapping photos, you're speaking to people.
Yeah.
Can you share with us some of those strategies? Like, I think maybe we're enough into the podcast where somebody's identified themselves as like, okay, they're talking directly to me right now. This conversation is about me.
Yeah.
So what's a good step? What are some of those strategies you talk about?
Sure. I mean, there are some easier strategies, right? One is really taking a look at our social media, because we spend a lot of time on social media. Most people do. I know I do.
I like this good actionable material right away.
This is very easy, right? Especially Instagram, where there are a lot of filters and all that kind of stuff, right? So unfollow things that cause you to have negative reactions, or people that cause you to have negative reactions in any way. And
it's simple. It's those three dots in the upper right-hand corner. You hit it and you select what you need to do next.
I mean, social media is the one, it's truly our own. We can have it however we want to have it. So it's very easy to unfollow.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. It's okay, right? Unfollow things that, so like I started unfollowing anything that had to do with like the diet industry or just all sorts of certain things like that I was just like, okay, I don't want to see that anymore in my feeds, right? And then I started following things and people that I wanted to see more of.
Right.
So things that were more around self-help and finding more self-awareness, bigger bodied women who were showing up in big, beautiful ways. Because it's like the more that I was seeing women who were really curvy and just living their lives and modeling and doing all this amazing stuff, I was like, okay, like
I can do that.
I'm good. Like, okay, she's beautiful. So therefore I must be beautiful too. Right. So that is the first thing I always tell everybody, like, get rid of social media accounts that just.
You want to hear a shocking statistic about social media?
I do.
4 in 10 posts that we see are from people we follow.
Yeah. Oh, God. Only 4. Okay.
Gosh.
So that is a hard thing, too, because of all of the advertising that we're getting.
Right.
True.
4 of 10 posts that you see
Right.
on Instagram are from people you actually follow.
So that is a really hard thing, because then
it's still a great step.
It is a great step. And I think that the more that the algorithm sees you doing certain things, it's going to then start loading those things into your feed, too. So it's going to take a little while, but it will eventually mostly change. Probably not completely.
So that's it. Step 1, as soon as this podcast ends today, you're going to go through your feed and just, rifle through it for the next 10 minutes and then hit those triple dots on anything that doesn't speak to you or serve you and get rid of it.
100%.
Okay, what's up? What else?
I think the next thing is, again, it's an easy thing, but it's just find some affirmations that really speak to you and that are around the situation that you are experiencing, whether it's body image or whatever it is, and, find good 10 affirmations or something like that. And again, it's silly and it's easy, but it's effective.
It's actually, it's simple, but it's not easy. It takes a minute to reprogram the brain.
Well, it's not like it's going to reprogram over, in the first time you do it.
I love the advice, because you have to start.
And there are so many ways to do this. You can record yourself speaking them, and like when you're in the car, just play it for the first few minutes that you're in the car, or you're going for a walk or something. That's one of the things that I do. I also have printed them out. And so whenever I'm in like the bathroom getting ready in the morning or something, I see them right there. So I can easily read them as I'm like doing my makeup and stuff like that. There's so many ways to make it easy for you. Have them right on the front screen of your phone. So every time you pick up your phone, you're seeing your affirmations, right? There's a lot of ways to make it really easy and integrated into your life very easily that you can see them a lot. And it will, over time, very quickly, actually. It's not going to take more than a day,
Yeah.
But over a couple of weeks, you're going to see how your mind is quickly. Our brains are wired to be able to be reprogrammed, right? Yeah. And so doing this actually truly will reprogram them.
So I want to double down on what Carrie's talking about right now. We had Nicole Vignola on the show. She's a neuroscientist, brilliant woman. And the expression that she delivered in our podcast was, the brain believes what you tell it. And we were talking about affirmations and the power of them. Because, everybody says, start a gratitude journal, get some affirmations. And it sounds like fluff.
It does.
But you can believe the neuroscientist. She said to us, the brain believes what you tell it. And then she also went on to say that we all have, on average, 60,000 plus thoughts a day.
100%, yes.
And if you're not careful, some of those thoughts can turn into beliefs, and that's when we get into trouble.
Yeah.
So this is the power of the affirmation, is that you're right. The brain may not believe it right away, but over time the brain believes what you tell it.
Yes.
So if every day you wake up and you have some better affirmation for yourself, eventually the brain will start to believe it. Because here's what happens, just so people understand it. And I love the way that Nicole put this. She's like, if you wake up every day and you think you're ugly, your brain will do everything in its power to prove you right all day long.
Exactly. Every way that you show up in life, whether it's from how you're appearing to how you're speaking to what you're doing, is going to be ugly in some way.
Right. And so you will go through life and continually you will prove yourself right. Congratulations.
Yes.
But what we're suggesting is what people call do the work. Like, do the work, and do the work is grab some new affirmations, start to have a different conversation with yourself about who you are and what you're all about. Are there a couple of, would you mind sharing a couple that you use that people might find helpful?
Oh, goodness. I just say stuff like, it's very simple, right?
Of course.
But I am beautiful. I am worthy. I am enough just as I am. It really can just be to whatever. I've had a lot of body image stuff in my life. And that's, I think that we for me, I have become what I worked on, I have worked through, I was a perfectionist my whole life, and I saw how that was actually holding me back rather than helping me.
Yes.
And so I have a lot of perfectionism stuff that I work with clients on now. Right. But so anything that is around perfectionism, around body image, I mean, they're very individual and very simple.
Something like what? Like, I don't have to be perfect today?
But you don't want to do it in a negative way.
Yeah, okay.
You don't
want that word down in there.
I love being real. I mean, that's a way to look at it instead of, so I have a hashtag called real is the new perfect, right? Because
I like that.
Perfect is what society tells you to be, what tells you it should be, right? And being real is truly just being yourself from inside your heart and your soul and your mind, right? And so showing, so you don't want to come at an affirmation from a negative standpoint. You want to come at it from a positive standpoint, and you want to say it as in you are already doing that. So it's just so the universe thinks, okay, this is already to be because she is already being like this, or he is already being like this.
Okay.
So yeah, I am showing up in a real way in all areas of my life would be a good one to come away from the perfectionism side. Okay. So anyway.
Keep riffing. I want to hear what else is on your brain.
I don't know. I mean, there's just so many more. Going back to that client who had the hard time with her smile. Exactly. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? Instead of looking in the mirror every day and thinking, I have an ugly smile, or, whatever it is. I have a beautiful smile. That's all she needs to say. Or I love my smile. And it's not going to change that first day. And you might feel like an imposter maybe that first time you're saying that, because it's going to feel really inauthentic because you've been hearing a different story in your head for so long, right? So it's going to feel really weird and really awkward. But give it a week, give it 2 weeks, give it 3 weeks, and it's just going to completely shift.
Yeah. Every chance I get to say this, I make sure I say it on the podcast. I sat down with a coach one time, and he said to me, the imposter are the thoughts that you're not the thing. They're not real. The thoughts are not the beliefs.
It's the stories.
Unless you make them, right?
Yeah.
And to get back to where we started, is the story even yours?
Right.
How did it get planted? And don't you think that's, like, this gets back to the awareness piece, right? Like, we should all just sit down and shut the fuck up and ask ourselves and get really curious. Where did that even start?
Yeah.
Where did that even originate for me?
But that is a really hard place to even get to.
I know it is.
Because you have to be able to have self-awareness. And that is not an easy thing to arrive at. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes us looking at ourselves really critically and not liking some things that we're seeing, right? But it also takes listening to our thoughts. And that is another really difficult thing, because you have to get really quiet and really listen to everything that you're saying. And that's a little exhausting sometimes, listening to everything that goes on in our own heads, right? But that's what we have to be able to get to that spot so we can reprogram those thoughts, right? I have a terrible, these stories, right, in my head around wealth. And I heard from 2 very prominent figures in my life as I was growing up. One, that I was not worthy of wealthy people, right? Dating a wealthier guy, and they asked, well, why would he want to date you? Because you're just white trash, is literally what was told to me, right? So that is a money story that I have grown up, that I am white trash as compared to people who have wealth. And the second one was that if you do have money, then you exude power over people and you're mean and controlling to them, right? So it's like, if I ever had any money, I'm going to be a mean, controlling person, so I don't want to have any money. So these are stories that I have personally been dealing with to this day, right? I am literally just now getting to this spot, but I haven't until very recently even taken this own question, like, are these stories even my own, right? And really sat down with them and like, fuck no, they are not my own. Yeah. And I don't want them anywhere near me, right? Like, I do not believe this. So, but I had to really get quiet and listen in, and how often these stories were coming up for myself. And that is not an easy thing to do. And I had to have a lot of self-awareness around that too, to be able to say, I don't like this about myself, and I want to change this. So I've gone through those. I think you have a kind of a flow, like a format flow that you like to go through too. I think is one. So I had to release all that, right? I had to listen in. I had to release that those weren't even my stories to begin with. I had to, what was the next one? Reset
For
it.
Me, reset.
Yeah, reset it. Yeah, I really like these 4 R's that you go through. Reset it and think, okay, well, what is the story that I believe and that I want to hold on to going forward? And that is, people are people, and money is an energy.
Yes.
And money is not a power over people. It's a power to people. Right. And so I had to really think about what my own stories around money were. And now I have to reprogram that. So every time I find myself in a situation where I'm having like money insecurities come up around these thoughts around it, I have to be like, okay, that's not my story. That's not my story. But it takes a lot of self-awareness to be able to listen into your thoughts and reprogram it. It's
crazy.
hard.
Yeah, it's crazy we're having this conversation. I'm listening to a book right now called Change the Aura of Your Life. And the chapter that I listened to this morning while I was at the gym was around money. And it's like some of the stuff you're saying is what was in this book too. And the guy said, he goes back to the Bible verse that a lot of people misquote. And I'd never heard this before, even though I grew up in the church, which was, money is the root of all evil.
Right.
That's actually not the quote. The full quote is, love of money is the root of all evil. But over time,
how that has been changed over time.
Over time, we've eliminated the words that aren't convenient for us.
Right.
And then this other guy, and then the author was also talking about how there's this really dangerous, what's the word? There's a dangerous thought process around being spiritual that says, I shouldn't have things. We think of monks and we think of nuns and we think of people who commit their life to poverty and
giving everything away.
That's right.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a beautiful piece of what they're doing and how they're doing it, but that doesn't need to be your truth, and it doesn't need to be my truth.
No.
And when you get money, you can do a lot of great things with it as well.
Absolutely.
So maybe it isn't the root of all evil, but it's this idea that the love of the money is the root of all
and
evil.
And the greed of it. And the maybe not wanting to do any helpful things in this entire world with it. So there is some truth to that, but it's not the full truth to it, right? There is a part of it that's truthful, but that's not the whole story that's truthful.
Yeah, the whole thing about money is really interesting to me. I don't know about you. I grew up with no money. We grew up so not poor, but like no extras.
Super middle class.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I eventually jumped into a really successful radio and television career, and I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that at the height of it all, when I had the biggest paychecks that I was ever receiving in my life, and all the cars and the biggest houses and all the trips and all the shit, I was the unhappiest person I have ever been in my 51 years of living. Yeah. And so explain that, right, to somebody who's like, no, if I just made a few $100,000 and I could pay all my bills, I'd be so happy. And I really think I've thought a lot about this, and I've meditated on this for hours and hours and hours and hours. And for me, it felt like the only good part about having a nice paycheck was the ability to take care of myself when I needed to.
Sure.
Like, so if I wanted something, I could get it. If I was sick, I could go see an acupuncturist or a masseuse, or you know what I mean? Like the ability to take care of myself.
That was a good thing.
I think was one of the only really good things about it was that you can choose to take care of yourself. But it does bring a whole host of other issues and other problems. And again, to go back to where we started, it boils down to the story that we've been taught on the way up. That has the power to completely mold us. Let's bring this back to the body, because one of the questions that I'm wondering is back to strategy. So we're going to unfollow some people, but I'm wondering, can I be at home with my iPhone, and can I get in a mirror, and can I just stand in front of my camera and take a bunch of pictures of myself? And will that give me a similar benefit to coming in here and doing it professionally?
It will, absolutely. This is going to be my third strategy, and then we got sidetracked on a whole other questions. But yes, so you can do something called, which is really, really powerful. It's actually a thing out there called the mirror gazing. Mirror gazing. And so what that is literally just going into a mirror, and you can either do it, naked, or you can do it clothed, whatever works for you. But it's literally looking at yourself, and any negative, a lot of negative stuff is going to start coming up at the beginning, right? But the whole point of this is to be very intentional with the words that and your thoughts that you're thinking, right? So if you're so it's saying, I love my eyes, I love my shoulders, I love my elbows, I love whatever it is. Like I love, so my part of my body that I like the least is my belly area, right? So really looking at my belly and thinking of all and loving on it, and maybe touching it a little bit, giving it some love, but also thinking about all the good things that I can do in this body with this belly that I'm in right now, right? So I'm running these days, and I can run with this belly, and I birthed a child out of this, all the things that have been really good that are coming from these areas maybe that we don't like so much. And again, it's going to feel awkward at first,
a little foreign, right?
And untrue at first, because we've been talking so negatively to our bodies and ourselves for so long, right? So it's not going to feel natural to begin with, but give it a week, give it 2 weeks, give it 3 weeks. And I tell you, it's going to start reprogramming your body, and you're going to find yourself showing up in different ways in this world because of this, because of the way that you are speaking to yourselves now, right? It comes down to the way that we talk to ourselves.
Sure it does.
Because when we can talk to ourselves with kindness and love and acceptance, not only does that help us, but then that's the way that we start going and talking to the world. We start talking to our kids and our spouses and our communities with more love and kindness and acceptance. But it starts with us looking in the mirror and being kinder to ourselves.
I like this idea of start with a few things that you love about yourself.
Sure.
If that's your eyes, if that's your cheekbones, if that's your breasts, if that's your kneecaps, it doesn't matter what it is, right?
Whatever it is.
Find something that you love about yourself,
yes,
and start to pump on that a little bit.
Yes.
And then maybe you start to bring in some of the other parts that you're not as happy with. And
absolutely.
I've had to get to this place. Could be you and I on the Move the Needle podcast. We talked a little bit about my issues with my body, because I've always grown up, I'm this tall, scrawny dude who could never put on any muscle. And
again, story that you're telling yourself.
Of course, right? But I've learned to shed that story over the last few years, and I am in the gym and I'm doing the things that I can to just be strong. And strong to me is different. I don't need to be Adonis. I just need to not fall when I'm 65 years old. Right? I have different goals now, and I just got done having this skin cancer situation with my ear.
Right.
And the woman that was doing the skin cancer, she was like, she was talking me through how it was going to heal. And she's like, well, and there might be a little mark there, and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, I looked right at her. I said, I am not an ear model. I don't need that ear to be perfect. Right. That's the attitude I have now, right? I don't need to be beautiful. I'm not a, but I'm maybe not that would have
affected you at a different time in your life, though. Yeah.
But I think a lot of us, we have these unrealistic expectations of who we need to be for the world.
So we need to be some perfect version of something, right? And we don't.
But we're not in that space. I don't need to be strong. I don't lift weights for a living. I talk for a living. So I need to take care of my voice.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to take care of my thoughts. I need to make sure that I'm clear on the questions that I want to ask.
Yeah.
I focus on the things that I know are important to the person that I am versus what everybody else thinks.
What you think everybody else thinks, though. It's really actually not what everybody else thinks, right?
Isn't that so true?
Yeah, because I would never look at you and think, scrawny, whatever. I would never think those things, or I would never be like, oh my God, look at that scar in his ear. Oh, what is wrong with him? Never, ever, ever. It's like, oh gosh, I wonder what happened for him to get that scar. I wonder what the story is around that, right? The things that make us different are truly the things that make us interesting and what the world needs,
I agree.
right?
Yeah. All right, let's get back to your strategies.
Yeah. Okay.
So, the little mirror imaging.
But what I wanted to also say on that, you had asked if you could do that at home, in not having a photography session, And so, yes, you can do that at home. But let me tell you the positive benefit of doing this kind of with a photography session as well. So I take it a step more, and I call it photo gazing instead of just mirror gazing. Because when you come into a photography session with me, the entire time I'm photographing you, I am telling you how amazing you look, and oh my gosh, gosh, you're doing so great. I am giving you so many positive affirmations during the whole photo session. So between the time that you come in and the time that you leave, you are walking out like you're a supermodel because I have just built you up so much during that time. Yeah. And it's not like, and I truly believe it. Like, people just come alive when they're with me in front of the camera. So when you get those photos back and you don't only see yourself like looking really great in the photos, but you also remember the photo session and you remember all those positive affirmations that you were getting. So while mirror gazing might take a few weeks for you to kind of reprogram those thoughts in your head, you're like immediately doing it from your photo session because you're getting those positive affirmations from an external source right away, right? You're just remembering, oh wow, she said I was amazing. I'm amazing. You know what I mean? Like she said I was beautiful. I'm beautiful. So you're getting that so much quicker. So it's just another level when you can find a photographer that helps you through that as well.
Speak to this a little bit. It's just kind of floating through my head. And so again, back to like, sometimes I ask messy questions and it's so that I can understand it. One would need to take these photos for themselves first and foremost. I would think that if you're doing this for somebody else, the benefit wouldn't be as great.
I mean, I would never encourage someone to go into a photo shoot for doing pictures for someone else. Right. I mean, I always bring it back to everyone okay, I'm talking about women typically, right? And so sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm going to get a boudoir session for my husband. And I always bring it back to, let's start with you first. Let's do a boudoir session for yourself first. And then your husband is going to be like the cherry on top for giving these pictures too. But let's talk about how it's going to impact you, right? I always bring it back to the person who's being photographed first because it's like we're minimizing the way that it can impact us by just saying, it's kind of like, oh, I'm not good enough for these photos for me, so let me just do them for somebody else. Or I don't know. It's like we're turning away from the work that it can do for ourselves and just saying, oh, I'm just going to do this for somebody else. But it's like, I always bring it back to the work it can do for us too. And I might have to challenge people on that a little bit sometimes, but I know how profound this work can be. I'm not just a photographer. I'm literally someone who's helping us change the way that we see ourselves so we can step more powerfully and more authentically into this world. And so I'm always going to challenge people and be like, no, this is for you first. And yes, your husband is going to love these pictures, right, but let's do this for you first. And then he's the secondary.
Okay. So what I'm also thinking is like that person who would get these photos, share them with other people to get some external validation.
Sure.
Maybe before they believe the story themselves.
Absolutely.
And how, I don't know, cautiously they should proceed with that. So when you get these photos back and you present them to the women, is there advice? Are you saying to them like, hey, these are for you?
Yeah.
Keep them for yourselves.
Yeah.
These don't need to go on Instagram. These don't need to be shown to everybody in your life.
That's up to the individual person for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And everybody's brands are different too, right? Some people can use that kind of stuff for their brands. I mean, obviously when we're talking about branding photos, that's different because you're going to be putting on websites, social media, all the things for people to see. Boudoir pictures, everyone feels very differently about their bodies and sharing their bodies on social media. I put my own boudoir pictures out there on social media because I want to show other women that they can come do this type of stuff and it's okay. I only do that for that reason, you know, but it's also scary because you don't know how people are going to react to these, and social media can be a really harsh place. And if we are susceptible to the comments of others, it can really take us down a really negative place, right? I put a picture out recently. I did an ad on Facebook, and so it went to who knows how, to all these sorts of people.
Right.
And
Thank you, Google.
And it was a picture of me like looking in a mirror. And so one side I'm in like a very professional dress, and the person I'm looking at in the mirror is in like her underwear, looking really upset and sad because it's talking about bodies and business and how our body image affects us in business. Anyway, the person commented, "Stop snacking," because I'm a curvier girl. So that's what their comment was, "Stop snacking." And I have done all the work on myself. So that comment didn't affect me one little bit. It was fine. I actually thought it was funny and posted on social media to show people, that like we do have the ability to change our thoughts, because there is a time not long ago, right? Maybe 5 years, maybe less than that, but definitely 5 years ago that something like that would have stopped me in my tracks. I would have taken that ad down. I would have cried myself to sleep, right? But it doesn't affect me anymore. But I've done the work to get to that place. But if you are susceptible to that, I would definitely not maybe show your friends, not show people who might have negative reactions to those, and just keep them to yourself so they can be really uplifting just to you.
Yeah, that's such great advice, and I'm glad we kind of hashed that out. Okay, so again, back to your strategies, because I really believe in my whole heart. I mean, the moment I met you, I was like, this woman has to be on my podcast, because there's so many people out there that struggle in this space. They look at themselves in the mirror and they just don't like the person they see. And I love what you're saying about like doing it professionally. I mean, I know better. And so I know to ask you things like, well, hey, but listen, the lighting's going to be better. Certain shadows aren't going to be there that are going to, of course, make you look a certain way. There's a lot of really, really positive things about doing it with a professional person. Absolutely. Especially somebody like you who's been there, done that, and can speak to it. Right. Let's transition a little bit more away from the boudoir photos and feeling better about myself, and specifically talk about the business piece. Yeah. There is career men and women who, and getting back to something we said earlier, because of the way that they think about themselves and view themselves, that is how they show up in the world. Yes. So what have you seen from your perspective from businessmen and women who have come in, had some really gorgeous headshots taken from you, and then look, what has that done for them? Oh man, I mean, just think about it. Think about like if you work for a business and you have a really crappy headshot that business has been using, and every time your picture is sent out in something, it's that really crappy headshot over and over. What is the first thought that you're going to have about it? Oh, great, they're using that picture again. Now, what if that is a really amazing headshot, and every time that gets sent out now, you're like proud of it. You're like, dang, I look really good in this picture. It's like, what a difference it changes from being like feeling just like kind of upset about it to feeling pride in it just over a picture, right? So just the internal feelings that it can change, right, is the first thing. But when you're just using selfies maybe in business, or you don't have good pictures, you're not putting yourself out there too. You're maybe not, some people don't even have pictures of themselves on their websites. And people buy from people. The service or the product that they buy is always secondary. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust first and foremost. So if you're not even putting a picture of yourself out there, how is anyone going to be able to buy from a person? Like, they don't even know who you are, right? So the more that we can put ourselves out there and show ourselves like just in a really professional, confident way, people are going to feel that confidence and see that in you and want to lean into you more and work with you. So it can change things so drastically from either not using any pictures or just using selfies that, again, don't have the good light, don't have all the good, all the stuff, to putting out professional photos where you truly look like your authentic, confident self, because that's when people truly are going to lean into you and want to work more with you. Sure. When you believe it, people can believe it too. And you start believing in yourself more, and you start putting yourself out there more too, right? Like when when we don't have good photos of ourselves, we're not showing up in so many different ways. And just having those beautiful pictures of ourselves, it increases our confidence. It helps us see ourselves like the next version of ourselves. And then we can more confidently go out and step into the world as that person too. I'm thinking about all these people that use really outdated photos because they like the way they looked when they were 35. I know. And they're 50 and they got a 36-year-old picture up. They're 60 and they've got a picture of them up when they were in their 40s. It happens so much. And I understand why. I truly do. But it's kind of lying. It is lying. Because to yourself. It's lying to yourself, and it's lying to other people. There have been times where I'm like, literally, I thought that I was meeting with this person, but that is a different person who just showed up for me. And so it's like, I'm already feeling like this person is not being truthful with me to start out with, right? So it's a big disservice to your clients, I think, to start off with, but it is lying to yourself too. And here's the thing, we age, and it's okay. We gain weight,
and it's okay. We are in a society that tells us that it's better to be youthful and thin and all these things, right? But it's just not true.
I don't believe that. I mean, since I was a little kid, I've been saying to myself, I can't wait to get older.
I know.
Because I feel like the older I get, the more credible I get, the more I believe in myself, all of those
But you
things.
still had body image stuff
For
too,
sure,
right?
for
I mean,
sure.
so you still felt it too. And the messages to women are deeper and more than the messages to men,
1000%,
right? And so especially women, they will hold on to these photos from 15, 20 years ago, right? And the thing is, like, we have to show up as our real true selves. Like, that is what people need. That is what the world needs. That's what we need to, that's the love that we need to show ourselves, by just accepting who we are and being good and okay with who we are at whatever age that we're at. It's such a disservice to ourselves and to others to
Are
show
there
up with
strategies towards acceptance?
Oh man,
I know it's kind of a big question.
That is
there's
a
not
big
really
question.
There's not really a how-to guide. There's not a acceptance for dummies book out, as far as I know.
If only there was.
Right.
Oh man, that is a big question that I don't think that there's one easy answer to. I mean, we have to know that we want to accept ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's a big question there in itself, because again, that comes down to self-awareness and seeing how much we're not accepting ourselves when we're using pictures on our LinkedIn that are from 15, 20 years ago, right? So if we can't even see that, how do we even expect them to see that they want to have acceptance of themselves, right? So it really comes down, I think, to self-awareness. I mentioned earlier, I'm reading this book called Insight right now. I can't remember the name of the author, but anyway, if you
We'll
want
link it in the show notes.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
To learn more about self-awareness, internal self-awareness and external self-awareness, check out this book. But I think it has to start with the self-awareness. And then it's like, okay, where am I not self-aware? Oh, maybe in these photos that I'm showing of myself. And it's like, oh, I want to accept myself. And, it just takes time. It takes reading. It takes meditating. It takes going in, internally and dealing with all of the crap in our lives that we haven't dealt with yet. Yeah. I mean, it's a really big thing. I don't think there's like a strategy.
When I asked you the question, I thought, I think the first step to it, if there is a step one, is you gotta get back to what I said a few minutes ago. You gotta sit down and shut up and just start to think about where everything's coming from. To me, that's step one of acceptance.
But that's not even an easy step, though.
Oh, it's not. It's so difficult.
And a lot of people don't even know to do that step. Mm-hmm. So how do you get the pre-step to that, Right. I think everyone, no matter how self-aware we are, there's always more work to be done. So I think that it's just a thing that we should all do, but not everybody understands that.
Yeah, Chris Powell is a friend of mine, and he deals with folks. I don't know if you know who Chris Powell is, but he was the guy who's on ABC Extreme Makeover, the weight loss
Right,
edition.
that's what I thought, yeah.
And him and I did a podcast together called I Needed That for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And I felt like I just sat there and listened to all of the things that he said. And one of the things that he said, and I'm kind of butcher this a little bit, but he said people don't change their lives until the pain of the moment is more than what it would take to change their lives. And I'm butchering that a little bit.
No, but you've got it right. I mean,
right?
It's very close to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of us, we won't make any kind of changes in our lives until the pain of what we're experiencing right here and right now is so terrible that, okay, finally we'll go and do because the work is not easy. The work is not painless.
No.
If anything, I think the work is painful a little bit because you have to face some really hard realities about.
Yeah, and maybe not physically painful, but it's emotionally painful.
Big time, which is the worst.
It's hard to dig into all that crap from the past and stuff, and people just want to leave the past in the past and move on with the future, but you literally cannot move on with the future if your past is holding you back.
Because you're carrying it.
You're carrying it no matter what. No matter what. Even if you don't think you are, even if you don't want it, you're going to carry it.
Perfect time for a story. I go to the Durango Detention Center and I speak to juvenile inmates. And a lot of these kids have had terrible messages their entire lives.
Oh, yeah.
Mom and dad's in prison. Aunts and uncles are in prison. Incarceration is just part of the story. And that's what they think their future is going to be. And there's not much in the prison cells. But one of the things that's in every prison cell is a 5-gallon drum of water, like you would see on the back of a landscaping truck or at a sporting event or something like that, right? And I will invariably bring one of the kids up and I'll say, hold on to this 5-gallon water jug. And if you've ever picked up a water jug full of 5 gallons,
pretty heavy.
It's not light, right? Yeah. And I say to these kids, okay, this is how most people live their lives. They walk around carrying this 5-gallon jug of water everywhere they go. Yeah. What's a way for us to make our lives a little bit easier? And the answer that I'm looking for is like, let's dump some of that water out. Let's let some of the water out. Yeah. And then what happens there? Not only does it become lighter, but we literally create space for something new to show up in its place. Yeah. And to me, that's a lot of what's happening in these photos.
Yes.
Is that, I like to say it like this, man, you let a little air out of the tires, and then you start to see things a little bit differently, and then you start to do things differently.
Yes.
I mean, everything starts to change.
Oh man, one of the things that I love to share with people is like, okay, so in our heads are all these negative stories and thoughts about our bodies, right? All this negative stuff. So what if we could just pull those thoughts out? Like, can you imagine the space in our heads that we would have for other things, right? For our goals and our dreams and whatever we want to do. Just think about all the extra space that would be in there to be able to fulfill those things, right? So I share that a lot. It's the exact same concept, right?
As we wind down today, there certainly must be some themes that you've seen over the years in your work. Themes of like, okay, this is typically what happens. They come in, they have the shot, and then this happens. And then, I'll see people that have this reaction. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, how do you manage people who have a negative reaction? Maybe they see a photo. I'm sure it's not all bubblegum and roses. Like maybe there's some people who come in and they see a part of themselves and they just can't unfocus on it. They're so locked on that thing, and they see it on this really good high quality photo and they go, see, I knew that was there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it happens all the time.
It doesn't happen often.
But when it does, how might you help somebody manage that thought and emotion?
Oh boy, it's a really hard one. It really is. It's sad for me to see that because, all the work that we do through this whole photo session, right? I mean, it's to lead to that not happening. So when it does happen, and again, it doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while, it's so disheartening that we've done so much work and they're still at a place where they
can't see it,
where they hate themselves that much. It was such deeply seated hate for themselves that they're still at this point with all of the work and all of the love that we've poured into them and all the stuff, right? I mean, I can only do my best at that point and continue to be positive and show them all the positive things about them. But that's just going to be up to them. My best is to do my best, and hopefully, this isn't the particular situation that was going to help them change that, but hopefully it's a seed to the next situation where they're able to have some more self-awareness around this and hopefully start making some changes. I'm hopefully have played a part in a future for them where they don't hate themselves and they get to a place of, hopefully body acceptance around it.
So cool. Carrie, thank you so much for being
welcome.
a guest on our podcast. And for people that want to reach out to you, we're going to put all of your information in our show notes so they can just go there right now. They can click on it.
Wonderful.
What does it typically entail to get either headshots or a boudoir shot? Like, I mean, do I book and are you 2 months out? Are you 3 months out? Is it like, what is the experience like?
Yeah, it's usually a month out for a lot of things, just because of we go through a lot of things. We offer a lot of hair and makeup within my studio, so we have to book those things and stuff like that. So so just reach out to me via email or my contact page on my website, and we'll set up a consultation to really dig into what your needs are, whether it's boudoir or business photos, whatever you need. We'll kind of talk through that, and then we'll schedule from there.
Lastly, I did bring up to my wife that I thought it would be interesting for the two of us to come in and take pictures together.
Yeah.
She didn't say no.
But she wasn't as excited about it?
She didn't say no. Well, I think I got her wheels spinning a little bit.
Yeah, good. I mean, sometimes we do. We just have to think about it for a while too, right?
Because I was thinking, I'm somebody who is always looking for interesting ways to turn up the romance or turn up the physical intimacy in our relationship.
Absolutely.
And I just kind of thought to myself, if the two of us were here and we were taking these insane, beautiful pictures together, and then we looked at them like we'd have no choice but to want to tear each other's clothes off and have some fun.
I mean, here's the thing. I know you've got kids in the house, but so do I. Like, still blow those up and put them up in your bedroom, you know, like so you can see them, or at least in your bathroom or your closet or something, so you can see those.
I love it.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, come do that, but also, you know, towards the end of that photo session, get dressed up in fancy clothes and do some gorgeous pictures together. Then go out and have a great meal. Like, make it a night, you know, make it a whole like romantic date night too. I mean, there's so many good spaces with that. So I look forward to the time when your wife has come around a little bit more and we get to do that.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Thank you for what you're putting out into the world.
Thank you.
And I hope that everybody will reach out, and especially those who this really speaks to you. Just don't wait, man. It's like, we talk about plant medicine all the time, and I hate to compare what you're doing to that, but like, if things speak to you, act on them.
Right.
It is inaction in our lives that causes confusion and the stagnation of our energy, and the world wants you to just, boom, act on it right now. So
love it.
That's the advice. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We have 3 goals with Learn from People Who Lived It. 1. To help you feel less alone. 2. Encourage you to seek out a coach, a therapist, a church, anyone who can help you get through your journey and find some healing. 3. When you're ready, share your story with us.
Find Learn from People Who Lived It wherever you get podcasts. Search it using all one word. Learn from People Who Lived It.